Hi, my name is Deborah R. Richardson of Debra R. Richardson LLC, and I work with you to help you clean up your vendor data, clean up your vendor processes so that you pay the right vendor. Now, this week's vendor master file tip of the week is two creative ways that I have heard of to confirm bank changes. And let's just be clear, this is when that confirmation call just doesn't work for whatever reason. And we in AP, we get things done. And so I talk to either on webinars or meetings or groups that I'm speaking to or clients that I work with. And they talk about, some of the things that they do to confirm those bank changes so you don't make that fraudulent payment. And some of them I look at like, hmm, but they work. And so here are two of the best ones that I have heard of. And this first one, you might be a bit surprised, but maybe not. It is Zoom. Now, this particular person said it on a webinar that I was on, and it was really because the confirmation was out of the country, right? It was a non-US country. It was international. There was time zone differences, and for some reason, I don't think the person or the vendor could take a US call. I don't remember what the issue was, but the solution was Zoom. And so they got on a Zoom call, and I know there have been scam alerts out there about fraudsters doing that, but then they claim to have audio issues and video issues. So this wasn't the case. They were able to have their camera on and they were able to speak. And so that Zoom was that confirmation call. And at the time, they asked, right, if I thought that was good or bad. And I'm still kind of nulling that one over. So if you guys have had experience with that, I would love to hear that in the comments. The next one was notarization. So the controller was requiring the vendors to have their banking document notarized. And if you guys are not familiar with a notary and what they require, when you sign a document, the notary will take your identification and actually they'll document it because they have to document everything they notarize. And so they're really validating or authenticating that that is the person that's signing the document. And so the controller would have them sign the vendor banking form and then send that back in once that form was notarized. Now, I remember talking to this person on the phone, and I think they contacted me just to see if I thought it was a good idea. And I think the real issue is that this person was getting pushback from not only the vendors, not only the internal team members, but also leadership for picking that way that the vendors have to show up in person somewhere to get it notarized. I think it's genius, but it could be a little overkill. But this was right at the beginning of the pandemic. Nobody trusted anybody, but I don't know. Maybe it's more prevalent than I think it is. So if you're doing that, make sure you comment or throw that in the comments and let me know. And I would love to hear any other wild creative ways because again, we in AP we find ways to get things done. Very resourceful. I'd love to hear any wild creative ways that you have heard of or done to confirm vendor bank changes. And speaking of vendor bank changes, so my next podcast, and I'm actually going to have this pop up right after the end of this video, but it is on or talking about one possible reason why your match rates may be lower than expected. If you do the bank account ownership validations, the match rates are not very high sometimes with those, depending on where in the U.S. your vendor resides or banks. And so there's one reason why it could be lower that, to be honest, I wasn't aware of. I learn things from my clients every day, and this was one of them. So if you're interested in that, it will pop up at the end of this video. All right. So if you would like more information on how to improve your vendor process, please go to my website at deborarrichardson.com for free tools and resources to avoid fraud, regulatory fines, and bad vendor data. So good luck and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified next Tuesday for the next vendor master file tip of the week.